For the first of the convert to black and white tutorials, we're going to take a look at the adjustment layers method. This is actually one of the easiest methods available for converting an image to black and white, and far superior to the standard desaturate route. You'll see now that if I use the normal desaturate method by going to Image, Adjustments, Desaturate, although we end up with a black and white image, it's a fairly dull image and it lacks any kind of exciting tonality. So let me just undo that and we'll go straight into the technique illustrated here. I want to begin by adding a photo filter adjustment layer, and all adjustment layers we add by clicking the adjustment layer icon at the base of the layers palette here, and we'll click that and choose photo filter from the available options. Now for the moment I'm going to choose a red filter, and I'm going to leave the density at its default value and simply click OK. We'll be returning to this adjustment layer a little later in the process. Next, to perform the desaturation of the image, I want to add a hue and saturation adjustment layer. So again, on the adjustment layer icon, and we'll choose hue saturation from the list. All I want to do with this is simply grab the saturation slider and drag it as far left as possible, down to its absolute minimum value. Make sure you've got the preview button checked, and we can see because of that we have a grayscale effect on the image. We'll click OK to apply that adjustment layer. So you can now see that we've ended up with a fairly good grayscale image. In reality it's not actually grayscale at all. If we hide this hue saturation adjustment layer, we end up seeing the original color background layer image, but with the desaturated adjustment layer in place, we end up with the grayscale image itself. I want to add one more adjustment layer onto this, and that is a curves adjustment layer, and let's just drag that dialog box over to this side. Now with this adjustment layer, I just want to set the black and white points for the grayscale image, just to make sure everything's exactly as we want it. So we'll choose the black eyedropper tool from the bottom right of the curves dialog, and we'll click on an area of black within the image. We'll choose the white eyedropper tool, and it just so happens that in the catch light in the eyes we have a perfect area of absolute white, so we'll click on that just to set those, and we'll click OK to that dialog. So why did we add the photo filter layer in the first place? Well, this is the advantage of this method. If we just zoom out of the image a little, we'll see that if we simply double click the photo filter adjustment layer, you'll remember we set a red filter beforehand. The advantage of this method is that we can replicate the effect of traditional coloured filters that would be used when shooting with black and white film. At the moment I've got a red filter selected, as you can see in the filter drop down list, and I can modify the density of this filter with the density slider at the bottom here. So you really have the ultimate opportunity with this method to replicate whichever sort of effects you'd like. We can actually change to a blue filter, for instance, and again we can modify the density of the filter. So again you can modify the intensity of the effect. And finally we could choose a green filter, which again is a traditional filter that would be used with traditional black and white film, and again modify the density. Remember that these individual filters block out the colours which are opposite them on the traditional colour wheel. So for instance, using this green filter, if we pull the density right up to 100%, you'll see the lips turning darker in the image, and that is because they are coloured red, and green being opposite red in the colour wheel, that actually blocks any red light that tries to transfer through the camera, through the lens to the film. So we can experiment with the different coloured filters, and I think actually for this particular image I prefer the red. That gives us a really nice punchy black and white image with a good sense of contrast and tonal range. I'll just zoom out of that a little more. Finally, we can click on the top curves layer. Remember, the advantage of adjustment layers is that you can double click any of these and make further adjustments to them. If we'd done this directly by the separate commands via the menus, once we'd okayed the particular dialogue, that would be, as it were, set in stone forever. So if we click on the top layer in the stack, and I'm just going to add a final levels adjustment layer, and we'll get the appropriate dialogue showing on the screen. Now with this we can just do some final fine tuning simply by moving the gamma slider in the middle just to control the overall exposure values within the image, and we'll click OK to that. Obviously, after all this is done and you're happy with your final grayscale image, and that is a really nice punchy black and white image, simply flatten the layers via layer, flatten image, and then you can save the image to whatever file format you desire.